Hello, friends. How we doing?
Hello, hello. I
We
have no
are-
voice today.
We are back. Someone's got scratchy voice today. Episode 36. And we will finish up chapter 9 today. Next time we get together, we'll be on chapter 10. So we'll wrap up chapter 9. As I said before, me and Rhonda are on the verge of separation. We're not there yet, but it's getting close. So I found means to, like I said, I'd hide out in the bedroom, listen to my headphones. I'd escape to my world that I created so many years ago. By the time I got the babies down, by the time I got the dinner done, the house cleaned up, the kids' homework all done, and everything else, she wasn't doing nothing. She didn't want to do anything. She wanted to come home and lay down and go sleep on the couch. Like I said, and fuss and bitch at everybody because it made noise. Well, gee, you got a bedroom. Use it. But anyway, a lot of times she wouldn't come home at all until it was like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Because she didn't want to be around me, so to speak. That's how, that's the impression I got. It's not that she had to stay at work, it's just because she wanted to stay at work. She didn't want to come home and deal with all the bullshit. She left it to me to deal with, to contend with.
Which is probably the truth.
So, like I said, I found ways to escape to my world, and that became my escape, my recluse from all the fighting and arguing. And on one occasion, I came up with this point. As you grew up, everybody always has that favorite song that they want to listen to. One of my favorite, not the favorite, but one of my favorite songs was Electric Avenue.
That is a good one.
By Eddie Grant. It was a good song. I loved it. Every time I listened to that song, my headphones on, my mind just went nuts. Went crazy. Of course, the poem took several years to put together. This poem did. Every time I put the headphones on, listen to this Electric Avenue, I would put together a scene, but I never could finish the scene because I lost track of the song. Well, when you got the internet going on, it kind of broadened the horizons a little bit. See, the internet's a blessing and a curse.
It is.
If you look at it in both directions, it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing was I was able to find songs I had lost track of. And of course, I also found, greatest hits albums back in the 80s. And one of the cassettes that I found, we still had cassettes at the time. And one of the cassettes that I found had the Electric Avenue on it. So, of course,
You got it.
I wore it out. I got it and I wore it out. And I finally came to the conclusion of the poem. I finally got it all pieced together after several years because I finally had my song to finish it with. So I retired to the bedroom, the lights were dimmed, and I was listening to it. And the scene that unfolded is what I'm about to read to you. And it was all done to the beat of the Electric Avenue. The poem entitled is called The Magic Jam Box. You'll understand why it's called that in a minute. It's called The Magic Jam Box. Your vehicle parked at the mouth of the trail, and you grab your jam box. There is nothing else inside that you want. Taking a cassette with your favorite song on it, you place it in the cassette player and you push play. You start walking forward as the song begins to play. The freedom you begin feeling is extraordinary as it begins to overpower you, and almost immediately, the sensations you feel cannot be denied, and the rhythm of the music is starting to take total control. Your feet starting to get a mind of their own, for you are now walking rhythmically, and your imagination begins to soar. The creatures around you don't seem to mind the noisemaker, as a wildlife refuge becomes chaotic with song and dance. The vibrations from the jam box begin strange transformations. A Black Panther becomes a Jamaican singer, and the Kodiak Bear is now a sound mixer. But instead of freaking out, you decide he needs dancers. You spot a rabbit, a bobcat, and a fox. What the hey? 3 alluring women coming right up as the 3 creatures transform, carrying the characteristics of their respective species. It's not enough as the deafening noise from the jam box cries for more. You come upon a waterfall as part of the splashdown begins to form an attractive woman dancing in rhythm. Everything around you now is deep into the music, and you just blending right in with all of it. The freedom out here is so real that you and your friends forget about reality. The song is nearing the end though, but you simply don't want it to be over. The song, however, is over, and you suddenly realize you're back into the reality zone. Saddened at first, as everything goes back to normal, you push rewind. While the tape rewinds, you feel in your pocket for a fresh set of batteries. A sudden click means it's through. A sudden click means it's through. You remove the old batteries and replace them with the new ones. You smile again. You are happy again, because now you can make the journey back toward your car with your friends. You feel someone behind you. It's one of the dancers. She touches you on the ear with a gentle kiss as she reaches around you, putting her hands on the cassette player. You respond in kind as she pushes play.
I like that one.
You like that? That's a pretty cool poem. I like that one. It took, like I said, it took several years to put it all together and to finally complete it, and that was the finished result. We're at the year 2000, 2001. And as Prince said in 1999, song, Party Over Oops, Out of Time. The computers were supposed to crash. Everything was supposed to go black. We were supposed to experience the apocalypse. Everything was supposed to just go haywire, and all the world was supposed to end. Well, it didn't end. There were some hiccups, but nothing severe. So mankind created its own turn of the century apocalypse. 17 terrorists would hijack 3 planes and crash them into the World Trade Center, and one was crashed in an open field. They say a third plane or a fourth plane
White House. One hit that
was crashed into the Pentagon, but there are speculations that there was never a plane. There was a missile spread. A lot of people say it was an inside job to start a terror war, in which it did. It created a terroristic war. It created a global war on terror. In the Middle East, there is a lot of oil there. And that could have been a catalyst to start the terror war in the Middle East. And of course, in the Bible, the Middle East is the starting point of the end time war, of the apocalypse, of Armageddon, where it all is supposed to take place. So it all makes sense that the Middle East has become a very volatile region. Muslims fighting Christians, terrorists fighting the infidels, which is us. And what better way to get the United States involved in a war on terror than to create a scenario where 17 terrorists take out the iconic Twin Towers of New York City. So the conflicts against the evil force, that is in retrospect you. The ego becomes the backdrop of the next poem. Because mankind in itself is evil. And they will do whatever they can to stir up trouble, to stir up fighting, to create the wars, because wars bring in money, bring in revenue. No one knows exactly what happened, but there was planes that crashed into the trade centers. No one knows for sure what hit the Pentagon. There was a plane that crashed out in the Pennsylvania field. But when they went to start the war, the terrorists were like, why are you here? What did we do? So if they said, if either they're in complete denial or there's something else afoot. We're not for sure. We already know it kicked off a 20-year war on terror. And 20 years later, of course, we have pretty much gone quiet in the Middle East and there's fighting elsewhere. The terrorists are still there, but not as a major fighting force. They will say, oh yeah, they lost that war in Afghanistan. No, they didn't. We done what we wanted to do. We
pulled out.
We did, and then we pulled out. We done what
we did a horrible pullout.
We did a horrible. It was a shoddy pullout, and we pulled out of Afghanistan 20 years later after this. But we done did what we done did what we
did what we wanted.
We did what we went there to do. So, like I said, mankind in itself is evil. And this next poem was written...
Granted, I don't think so. I think the world is a bit corrupted.
This poem was written soon after the September 11th attacks. And the poem itself is like it's a conflict against oneself. That's what it amounts to. That's what it amounts to being about. A conflict against oneself. So,
Excuse me.
The poem in question is The Dark Side Confronted. That's the name of the poem. The Dark Side Confronted. And we're going to read The Dark Side Confronted. Then we're going to cover an emotional moment in my life. And then we'll end chapter 10. So we're just going to go past our 15 to 20 minute scenario because I try to break it down a little bit. But this is going to take a little bit longer. We're going to try to finish up chapter 9, not chapter 10, but chapter 9. Then start chapter 10. So we're going to do The Dark Side Confronted and then cover the mystery that surrounded the death of a certain individual. The Dark Side Confronted. I stand alone in the middle of an open field, me on one side, my dark side on the other. I stand in my ground, I prepare to do battle. The dark side glares back with angry red eyes. He has horns on the top of his head, his claws razor sharp, and mouth grueling. Emotions forward, ready to charge. I, with an intensity and still nerves, motions back. My weapon is two sharpened crosses in each hand. His weapon of choice, a pronged spear. Now the moment of truth is at hand, a cry of war that echoes throughout the open air. We charge each other with great ferocity, a charge so fierce the earth itself trembles. As we clash violently and the battle begins, I'm left with a single question in mind. It's the question being repeated time after time. Who will be left standing in the end? What do you think about that one?
Sounds like a good opening for a book.
But throughout 2002, it was kind of a dead year. I didn't do a whole lot of writing. The one event it mentioned was a pretty tough loss to endure. After all the fighting and the arguing, me and Rhonda going back and forth, and of course just steadily evolving into a massive confrontation between her and I. Something happened that kind of broke the fight, sort of called a peace treaty for a few days. My grandmother. Passed away in her sleep 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. This woman was my go-to. She was my shelter. She was my person I confided in when I needed peace. She was sort of like my second mother. I always went to her. Her house is where I lived when my mom and dad kicked me out or couldn't deal with me. She always took me in. She's the one that always got me the graham crackers, the one that gave me that room, so nobody else, that Stephen's room, that's Monroe's room, stay the hell out of there. And she would even get on to them when they go into my room. She was the cornerstone of the family. Any family reunions or anything of that nature, her and Aunt Debbie put it together. That was their task. That was their responsibility. That was their doing. Now it was all on Aunt Debbie. Her partner was gone. Also at the same time, I tried Extension College because the job I had, closed shop, and they supplied some funding for some college education. I got through 3 semesters, and I wasn't doing very good, and I was going to lose my funding, so I had to bail out. For the second time, but this failure in college failed in comparison to losing my second mother. Like I said, she was always there for me. And my uncle always was kind of fussing at me, Uncle Anthony, was fussing at us that we allowed her to watch the twins. But she wanted to. She didn't want anybody else to watch those twins. The twins were hers, period. And they were 2 years old.
Yeah, we were her babies, basically.
About 2, almost 3 years old at the time. About things, I think they were 3. Maybe been 3. 98, 99, 2. Almost 3 going on 4. But we had dropped them off that day, or that morning, and Grandpa She was still in the bed there, and Grandpa asked the kids to wake her up. They were crawling on top of her, trying to wake her up. After a few moments, Grandpa realized she wasn't moving. And the twins, I don't believe the twins realized what was going on. They said Grandma's not waking up. And Grandpa pulled the twins off and finally realized that she was not breathing. And then that's when he called the coroner. I was called about 7:30. Rhonda called me and says, "You need to go get the twins." And I was like, "What?" Grandma's passed away. Of course.
This hurt.
I was hurt. I bellowed. I banged the door. Screamed no. Why? For that was
Time for her to go.
that was just a dagger in the back, you know. It hurt. She died in her sleep about 3 o'clock that morning. What the coroner came to a conclusion of. But she died the way she wanted to die. She had a fun day with the boys. She had planned a fun day with the boys again and going shopping with Aunt Debbie. Christmas shopping. She was going to go at it again the next day.
She died happy.
She died happy. And I guess that's all you can ask. She didn't suffer. But mystery surrounded her death. It was, like I said, Native American culture runs deep in our family. And this is more proof of it. At 3 o'clock that morning, I woke up with cold chills. I didn't know why I had cold chills. The floor was ice cold. The floor should have been ice cold. It's never ice cold. Not like that. But it was ice cold. The heater was on. My dad was heading out of state. He had just reached the border and he got a phone call. Your mom has passed away. Just as he was fixing to leave the state, he turned around and came back. My Uncle Pancho was hunting. He had a deer in his sights. He never leaves his phone on. He always turns it off. But for some reason, that day, he had left his phone on. And Aunt Debbie called in tears, exclaiming that Flo had passed away. He had the deer lined up. He was ready to pull the trigger. He almost pulled the trigger and the phone rang. Of course, my aunt also felt the cold sensation, but didn't understand what it meant to send the same cold sensation that I felt. It was as though she was letting us know she was gone. I and Greg anchored the casket as pallbearers. 2 others, I think Chad and I think Stacy. There's 2 others, and there were 6 of us all together. As we went to lift the casket after the funeral, I turned to Greg and I said, "Let's finish it." He nods in agreement, and we laid her to rest. This event added more grief to my present situation. The marriage was faltering, and faltering fast. We headed in two different directions, and the more we realized that, the more we fought. It got to the point where she was defiled to get to the point, got to the point where she was just defiled by my presence, even the sound of my voice. I made it a point to avoid her at all cost, Rhonda. It got to the point, I'm going to believe we just flat out hated each other. Becoming depressed and disappointed, and the loss of my grandmother just added insult to injury. Of course, like I said, Greg passed away and several years later, and he was put to rest beside his grandmother. And when my Grandpa Roland, when he finally passed away a few months ago, he was laid to rest beside his wife. Got our own family graveyard there. That may be where I'll be laid to rest. I don't know. The poem Out of Mind focuses on that depression and disappointment in dealing with a great loss and the suffering and the betrayals and the faltering marriage. Out of Mind focuses a lot on what I was going through. And with Out of Mind, we will end chapter 9, and we'll move into chapter 10. Chapter 10 is going to be entitled Shadow Can't Help It. So we're going to read Out of Mind, and then we're going to wrap things up on this episode and prepare for the next. Here we go. Out of Mind. Frustration, agitation, depression. Temperamental, upset, full of turmoil. All of this in the real world. All of this is in the real me. I want to be free as I cry for help. It's a cry that is never heard. I'm desperate for happiness and joy. So to the world I created, I go. A world where peace and relaxation reign. I'm not ashamed to be my own me, someone that is full of love and creativity, not one that destroys and is full of hate. The deeper I go here, the more I want to stay. There is beauty in everything that dwells here. There are no wars. No, none at all. No ugly people with hateful words of any kind. Just before fading out of this world and becoming lost and surrounded by peace, I realize I'm still needed here. Miserable I may be, their well-being needs me. But as things get tight and I feel tense, when I need a release, a journey to peace, I know the old world is still there, waiting ever so patiently for my arrival.
Kind of dark.
Yep. Exactly how I felt. All right. With that note, we'll end chapter 9. And next time we meet, we will be on chapter 10. Chapter 10 is where everything is going to really hit the fan. And so just be ready. That's all I have to say. Just be ready. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you next time around.